fellow ink drinkers, and welcome back to the Blind Girls Book Talk podcast. My name is Aria.
And I'm Belle.
And we are two sisters who love reading and love books. And so what we've done is we've started this podcast in order to talk about the things that we love about books, the things that we wish we could change, all of those kind of things. This show is a variety show, and we cover a wide range of bookish topics. Now, those can range from bad retellings of stories, book-to-movie comparisons, book theories. Really, the list does go on. But today, what we are going to actually talk about is we are going to talk about books and series that we will not touch with a 10-foot pole. Now, the reason that we chose to talk about this is because there are some series and books that I see going around that I keep getting recommended, in different apps. I see them like all over, like Bookstagram, Book Talk, BookTube, like all of the places. And quite frankly, I'm not intrigued by them, and I wish that I would stop being recommended them. Now, also, one caveat before we get started today. I know that last episode we said we were going to be doing our buddy read of Night Circus. We lied. That's not what we're talking about today.
Well, let me rephrase. I just haven't read it.
Yeah, Belle
I'm putting it off.
Belle kind of has been putting it off for a good long while, and then things just got very crazy in Belle's life. So we're just kind of putting that on the back burner. We will be talking about it. I'm going to demand it at some point.
Yeah, it's going to get done. I will say that.
It just might be quite some time.
Yeah, I've gone through a lot recently. I need to process everything that's happened.
Yeah, exactly. So that is why we are talking about what we are talking about today instead. Now, do you want to kick this off or do you want me to?
I don't care.
Okay. So what we're first going to talk about is just books, singular books themselves that we will not touch. And the first one on my list that I've kind of just been trying to compile is any of the Colleen Hoover books. Okay. Now, I see these all the frickin' time.
I do too.
On Bookstagram. All the time. And everybody's raving about them. They're just not intriguing to me. Like, it's not something that's like drawing my attention and just being like, I should read this. I know one of my friends recently has read, I think, one or two of her books. And my friend has said, I really liked them. I think they're pretty good. That kind of thing. And I just, I trust her judgment because she is a very good judge of books. But at the same time, I'm just kind of like, but I don't feel called to them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a weird one for me. Now, what's your first one?
Are we also going with stuff we won't finish?
No, because
No? Okay.
I think we're going to do another episode later on down the line that's like series or books that we just did not finish. I think that's a different subset.
Okay, I wanted to make sure before I went through. I don't know so much about individual books that I won't read just because I won't pick up a book unless it kind of intrigues me. So for me, this one's really difficult. I know a lot of people that I've met and stuff, and they're like, oh, you're a reader, and I'm like, yeah, and they're like, oh, well, there's this fantasy book, and I'm like, yeah, no. I can tell you right now, I will not read it.
Yeah. And I will say there, for example, another one that unfortunately I don't see me reading is going to be Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings series.
I will. Okay. Does that count for me because I've read The Hobbit? Because I won't read that.
The rest of them, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But isn't The Hobbit standalone?
Yeah, The Hobbit's kind of like a prequel to everything, and it's kind of more standalone-y.
Yeah.
And then you've got The Fellowship, The Two Towers, and shoot, I cannot remember the last one, but whatever the last book is.
Yeah, I will not read the rest. I read The Hobbit for my AP class, and Aria can attest, I had to read that over Christmas break. I hated my life. I had to come up with just hilarious names for the characters just to get through the book.
Yeah, that definitely was not one of your favorites. I remember trying to read The Hobbit when I was in like middle school, and I got a page in and I just couldn't do it.
I just can't do fantasy. Like, I don't know how you can do it.
It's not even the fantasy aspect for me. I think I have an aversion to classics. Like, I really do, because the next actual couple books on my list are The Catcher in the Rye, A Tale of Two Cities, and Les Miserables. Like, all of those books, I'm not interested in. A lot of classic stuff, I'm like, I need to read this. Like, I've been trying to read Dante's Inferno for ages.
Wait, you have Dante's Inferno?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you have that and I don't?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I read Catcher in the Rye. It wasn't one of my favorites, but it wasn't like anything major. I haven't read the other two yet. That's on my never-ending list of books I'm going to read one day.
So I think that was my problem, though, with The Lord of the Rings. Like, with all of those, it's just, I don't know why. And I feel like it's gotten worse as I've gotten older. Like, I don't have to read classics, and so I'm not going to. Unless I need to for, like, this podcast, or unless there is a reason. The only classic I like is, of course, Pride and Prejudice. After that, like, even, like, Northanger and, like, you know, some of the other Austen books that I've tried to read, I can't do it.
You break my heart.
I know. And that's why we're such a kind of opposing odds in this case, because you're very much the classic lover. And, like, I feel bad.
Well, I think it's funny because the books that I won't touch are books that you have read. And then the books that you won't touch are stuff that, like, I own or is on my list to read, like, all that.
Right. So it is kind of funny how we are kind of opposed in that. Okay, the next book. Okay, let me tell you, I'm about to get heated. Okay, because, and I feel bad, and I'm so sorry to this author. And I kind of don't want to mention the author's name just because I'm going to get very heated, and like, I don't have a right to be this heated. Well, I don't feel like I have a right to be this heated, but I'm going to get heated. So there is a book that is called Flirtosaurus. Okay.
What?
Now, I found this book on like a 2-for-1 sale for Audible. I was intrigued. It was like a rom-com, but it's like a paleontologist and an astronomer and a museum.
Wait a second. Hold on. Pause. This is one you didn't finish.
No, this is one I finished. I'll explain.
Why? Okay. Go ahead.
So I got the book. And my mom and I were traveling to go see Belle. And so we were listening to an audiobook. So we both picked this one out of kind of the list. This audiobook was the worst book that I have ever listened to. Like, it was so bad. I wanted to love it. Like, I wanted to love it, because for me, it was kind of like everything that I would be interested in. Kind of more of a STEM romance, museums, dinosaur, like all of those things. I was just like, yes, like I am here for that. The main character was not likable. Some of the scenes were just not, like, they were so cringy. Like, and not cringy in like a...
not like the typical, like, smart nerd cringe.
Right, like to the point where, like, for example, one of the scenes, she thinks that the guy stands her up because they meet when she's stuck in an elevator and he's outside the elevator, and they're like talking to each other. So before she gets out, he tells her, you know, meet me at this place. So she goes to meet him and she thinks that he stands her up. She just didn't hear what he actually said. So later on, they have this presentation where he's the one reading off, you know, this slides of this presentation, and she goes and she like confronts him in the middle of him like reading this thing, and then everybody of course can hear it because the mic is live, and she's arguing with him about this, and I'm just like, girl, there's things that happen in books that, like, yes, it straddles between like it could actually happen and it can't, or, you know, obviously in the case of fantasies it just doesn't exist, but like for something that's this grounded in reality, you would think there would be some of those kind of moments, because, and there wasn't like a single moment when she was like, oh yeah, like she should have been like, oh yeah, he's in the middle of this presentation, I'll wait. You know what I mean? Like, she just like went after him, and I'm just like, girl, And then, like, it did this weird thing where it went to, like, Gen Z slang at some points. Like, it was, like, there was a point where she's, like, she has a mushroom trip. Like, when they're at a sleepover for the museum. Like, it's, like, this whole thing. And I'm just like, this is the absolute worst. And there were parts where I was just like, I told my mom, I was like, please, can we turn this off? Can we skip it? Like, can we not finish this? And my mom's like, no. Let's finish it. There is one spicy scene in this book. I had to skip it because it was so bad. Like, I felt ill listening to this book. Like, and I'm not exaggerating here. Like, I legitimately felt sick. That's how bad it was. I'm sorry for that long rant. I had to get it out of the way. But there is a sequel to this book, and it's called The Love Bug. And I will not read it. I won't, because I just hated that other book so much that there is nothing that could be said or done that will make me be like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, the fact that it went to, like, Gen Z slang. To preface, I am technically Gen Z. I still don't understand it.
Right. Yeah.
Like, people at my school will, like, start speaking in it, and I'm just like, what are you saying? Like, can we not speak in English? Like, what are you saying to me?
Yeah, it wasn't good. And I'm so sorry to that author. I don't mean to get this heated about it, but, like, really, it just was not for me.
Okay. So back to our original discussion.
But back to the original discussion.
A series I will never read, Twilight and Divergent, and I'm pretty sure we're going to throw in the Hunger Games with that too, because not all of that just... I get heated. Like, Arya can attest, when it comes to these 3 series, I get heated.
You do. And, like, okay, as someone who grew up when those series were popular, I did read Twilight. I did read Hunger Games.
Divergent was more my time.
Divergent was more your time. And Divergent, I'll talk more about it later because it's on my will not finish list. But yeah, I
just like, can't get behind any of that.
Like, is there a reason though? Because, like, I know you've explained it to me before, but, like, also sometimes I forget your reasoning behind stuff. What is your reasoning that you're just so, like, absolutely not?
Okay, Twilight. Because, like, I had you and it was in your time, I'd hear stuff about it. And then it was a really popular series. So you would learn things. I would hear things. And, like, just hearing stuff, I know I just get the whole, what's the main girl's name?
Bella?
Yeah, she's an idiot.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah, I would get too frustrated and legit want to burn a book.
Yeah. And I will say, looking back, I'm just like, why was I into Twilight? Like, Hunger Games is actually pretty good. And I think you would like Hunger Games.
I think I'm just like, for Hunger Games and Divergent, the whole, like, dystopian society. I can't get behind that. I never could. It's like that and, like, fantasy. I can't do it.
Well, speaking of fantasies, that leads me to, I think, the last 2 that are on the series that I won't touch lists. And that is both the A Court of Thorn and Roses series and the Cruel Prince series.
I won't touch that either. Okay, I'm going to go off on a rant here.
Go ahead.
There are books that I have had for years. Let me preface this. Like, Cruel Prince is one of them. I got that whenever I was in high school from Books A Million. I recently got rid of it, but I got it from Books A Million years ago. And I will have this book. And then, like, you know, I got older and I'm like, I'm never going to read this. Gave it away. And as soon as I gave it away, it blew up. And I don't understand the hype. Like, why does everybody hype up these series that are old?
I don't know. Because, like, okay, I put them together because I think Fae, like the Fae and fairies, are the next vampires. Like, they really are.
They are. They are slowly taking over the world.
They really are. And, like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of cool stuff that can be done with, like, Fae stuff because, you know, there is just a long list of lore. But it's one of those things where I've read a couple Fae things and I like it. But there are just certain ones that are so hyped that I'm like, this cannot possibly live up to the hype.
Mm-hmm. I think I have, like, A Court of Thorn and Roses.
Do.
I own
you
that
have an
singular
old
book.
copy of it.
I do, because I got it when it first came out. because our mom got it for me.
Yeah.
Because my favorite flower is a rose.
Right.
And so like anytime like that's in the title,
She gets the book.
I get the book pretty
Yes.
much. But
Yeah.
I get them, and then all of a sudden they blow up, and I'm just like, I don't want to read this now.
Right. Now, another, I guess, set of books that I won't touch are books by Nicholas Sparks.
I don't know him. Do I know him?
He's the Notebook guy.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Anybody who knows this, I hate romance. Don't bring it to me.
Yeah.
I can't handle it. So just, no. I draw lines in the sand. No.
Yes. Yes. I was recently talking to my friend about it, and we were talking about different books, and I was just like, I'm not interested in that. You know what I mean? I'm not interested, and I'm not interested in the romances, like I want to say like the stereotypical ones where it's like the oiled man on the cover with his wind blowing or his hair blowing in the wind. Like that is not what I want from a romance. The romances that I like are, the love hypothesis, the cheat sheet. I'm trying to think.
You like more like romantic comedy type stuff?
Well, rom-com and like contemporary.
Yeah.
romances.
We talk about this in some future episodes because we film out of order, in case you didn't know.
Yes, we do.
We film very out of order. So a while ago we finished a 3-part series coming soon, but we talk about this.
Yes.
And like we talk about like the only romances that I can handle versus like what Arya can handle, and that's coming in a future episode. Oh, but speaking of romance, of another series I won't finish, this one I get extremely heated. And Arya knows you do not bring this book up to me. It's actually a series now. I think I read the first book, To All the Boys I Loved Before.
Yeah.
I hate that book with a fiery burning passion. And then the series happened. Now, let me also preface this. I read this book, not the series. I haven't read the series, and I refuse to because the first book is, no offense to anybody who likes it, first book was not my cup of tea. And then that was when it like first came out. Like I got it from Ollie's.
I don't remember.
I think it was Ollie's, like a discount book. I was like in middle school, but anyway, I got this book because I'm like, oh, this sounds interesting. Hated the book. Hated it. Again, this was years ago when it first came out. Got the second book, never touched it because I hated the first one. And then it became a Netflix thing. And I'm just like, why? Just why?
Yeah.
And then everybody is talking about it. And it's like all into this. And I'm like, have you read the book? And they're like, there's a book. Yes, there's a book. Have you not read the book? It sucks. So I will not watch it because the book sucks.
There are a lot of things like that I get surprised when I find out, oh, there's like, it's actually was first based off a book. And they are these kind of like older books that all of a sudden, like, they just kind of blow up. Like,
I don't understand.
For example, like Song of Achilles. Like, I feel like it was out for a good long while, and then all of a sudden, Song of Achilles is freaking everywhere.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sorry, unpopular opinion, that book was not for me. So like, I don't know. It's just so weird to see what random things eventually blow up through the book social media.
And I just don't get it. Like, it had been out. So I read that in middle school. When was that film made? Was that in like when I was in like close to finishing high school?
I think.
High school or like early college?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. But like, not as long as that book's been out. And then it blew up. And I just remember people I don't like were talking about it. And I opened my mouth and said something. And they're like, there's a book? And I'm like, yeah, it's been out for years. And they're like, I didn't know that. And I'm like, yeah, I read it. It was not fun. Like, no. And they're like, well, the movie and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't care about the movie. It still sucked. It's going to be the same general plot line, which was stupid and flawed. Sorry, the authors probably wrote in so much good stuff. Again, not my cup of tea. But for me, it sucked. And I hated my life. So now that it's like a popular thing, I'm like, can we just shut up about it? Because it's stupid.
Yeah. A lot of times with these things, you can just get very heated very quickly. And again, we're not, trying to be mean or rude or disrespectful to the author, because we know that authors put in a lot of time and effort and work into their stuff. You know, I've started trying to write myself, so like I get it, I understand. But at the same time, like sometimes you just kind of have to be like, that was not for me. I need to get heated about why this was not for me.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it's not about the author at that point. It's more about the work itself. Like,
Yeah,
you know, it's
nothing
not
against the author. It's legit the work. For me, it's a lot of, I can't.
right.
I can't stand it. You can't make me understand it. It don't work. It don't work. But somebody please explain to me how these old series or like books are just exploding.
I don't know.
What's with that all of a sudden?
I don't know.
Because like Twilight became popular like immediately. Harry Potter became popular like immediately. Court of Thorns and Roses pretty much became popular like immediately.
I'm waiting for the series on that, to be honest with you. I'm waiting for that to become a show or a movie or something.
Well, what was the new current book being turned into something? There's something. I don't know.
Dune?
I also won't touch Dune.
Dune?
Nobody can
or,
make me touch Dune. I won't touch that book.
The Wheel of Time or something like that. A Wheel of Time something. I think that's another one that's like going to be a thing.
What?
Girl, I don't know. I remember seeing it in not Barnes and Noble, Books A Million. They have like a shelf that's like, read it before it hits the big screen. And I swear that was on there, but I don't remember though. I didn't look at it. I wasn't intrigued. I'm picky. I get very picky sometimes.
I don't get what makes a book popular enough to get turned into something. Like, what constitutes that? Because I can sure tell you that To All the Boys I Loved Before was not popular before the Netflix picked it up. So what made Netflix pick it up?
You know what?
Who liked it enough to make Netflix pick it up?
Sometimes I think there's to me, and this is way off topic, and we will probably wrap it up after this kind of side quest here that we're going on. But
yeah, we diverged.
But I think it's twofold. I think it's either one, it's very, very popular at the time, and so a studio exec is just like, yeah, make that, do that, make that a thing, like Harry Potter and Twilight. I think in the cases for like the All the Boys I've Loved Before and like those kind of things, I think it's more a producer or a director or an actor or a somebody finds the story and something about that story resonates with them. And so then they want to make it. Not saying it's good. Like
I really question people's lives then.
Well, here's my thing. I will say I've never read or seen To All the Boys I Loved Before. I don't know anything about it.
I'm boycotting.
So I don't know. And it's not one we're going to cover. But I just think that sometimes you get these people who are just like, you know, I want to make this. And so they do. And like, honestly, all the power to you. Like, if you find something that inspires you and you want to make something out of that, do it. Like, follow your inspiration, follow your guide, your heart, your something, follow the arrow,
follow
like
the yellow brick road.
Anything you can follow it. But like, not saying that, you know, everybody will love the product at the end, and that's why, you know, things like this exist, so that way you can talk about, you know, your opinions and your thoughts on different things. And somebody might love something, somebody might hate something or that same thing, but it doesn't mean one person's right and one person's wrong. Everybody can have their opinion, and we can be respectful of everybody's opinions and respectful for the fact that, you know, a lot of hard work and dedication went to making the thing in question.
Yes, we still respect everybody's opinions. Granted, there's stuff that doesn't fit our tastes.
Right. And we won't cover it if that's the case. If somebody
just saying, by we mean if something doesn't fit our tastes, we won't cover it. Mainly mine.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can convince Arya to talk about anything. She can't convince me to do crap.
Yeah, it would take a lot of cajoling on my part, and a lot of times it's just not worth it. We'll find something else. There's plenty of topics out there to discuss. All right. Well, that is about all the time for today's episode. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, just don't come at me for anything I don't like or won't read.
Yeah. Don't
come at me, please.
Yeah, these are just our opinions. Granted, everybody has their own. We aren't saying you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm wrong, you're right. Like none of that is being said. These are just how we feel about these certain things. And we respect your opinions. We ask you respect ours. That's really all it boils down to.
Exactly.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's episode. We want to thank you for coming along as we talked about the books that we did not like, we don't want to read, we don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole because we're just not interested in them. If you like this episode, if you like what we're talking about, if you like us, please consider sharing the episode with your friends. You don't have to, but it really does help us to spread the word and to grow the show. What are we going to be talking about next time?
We are going to do an updating our inheritance game theory as I finished the second book.
Brilliant. So we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.